Good morning, everybody, and you're all welcome to this meeting. First on the agenda is to confirm the minutes of the meeting of the Municipal District of Sligo Drumcliff held on the 24th of May 2021. Can I have a proposer? Seconder? Councillor Watch.
I second it.
To confirm the minutes of the annual meeting of the Municipal District of Sligo Drumcliff held on the 28th of June. Proposer? Councillor Walsh and Councillor Healy. Any matters arising? No? Okay. Okay, so the first motion, Councillor Fox.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. And just in relation to the car park there at, outside the Rathcormac National School, it's badly in need of resurfacing there and road markings, and it also needs those bollards.
Can you hear us, Councillor?
Do you hear me? Can you hear me now?
I might.
Can you hear me?
I'll move on to motion number 7, and we'll come back to Councillor Fox in a few minutes, if that's okay. Pardon? Okay, he'll try to log in again. Okay, Councillor Walsh.
Thanks, Cahirlock. I'm just looking. I had a motion down about 6-7 months ago relative to this roundabout adjacent to the National School in Killooney, and there was a safety assessment to be carried out. And just is there a report?
Yep, Cahirlock. Just to confirm that the interventions provided at St Mary's Green, Killooney were provided in accordance with the required standards and best practice. It is now proposed to carry out a survey of traffic volumes and speeds to establish if further interventions are required. Any further interventions at this location will be subject to funding.
I'd like to thank the Director for her reply. Just as an immediate course of action, is it possible to look at the alignment coming from the northern side into it and maybe line it? And there's no stop there, and there's an issue with there's a ramp just adjacent to it, which is falling apart. I met with 2 residents there a few weeks ago in relation to the ramp. Maybe that could be looked at also. Thanks, Cahirlock. And I know I have mentioned this to the Director last week. There's a huge amount of applications, I understand, to the Community Enhancement Programme this year. I think there's in the region, it's just slightly increased on last year, the figure that came down from the department. And we've raised this both at the main meeting and at Sligo Drumcliff before in relation to the community and voluntary sector. Many of the sector struggles for insurance, pay their utilities. At the moment, community halls, sports facilities, they have loans. In some cases, they're taking additional facility from their banks or credit unions or Cloncredo to just meet their payments. So it was this year in the community programme that there was a strand for utilities to help the community and voluntary sector. We've over 400 community and voluntary groups registered in the county, and I would ask the Director that if any funding could be made available this year to increase the scheme. I know it's going to be announced in the next few weeks, but there are many more applications than the money will allow for. So maybe if the director wants to provide a reply.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yes, Councillor Walsh, yeah, the Community Enhancement Programme is very much oversubscribed. This year we got just over 134,000. So while we would welcome an additional allocation, it is a DRCD funded scheme funded by the Department of Rural and Community Development, and unfortunately we don't have any influence over whether we get an increase in the allocation or not. However, if we do, we certainly will be able to apply it to the applications that we will have. Now, as regards any of the funding available from within our own resources, they're already committed for 2021. So I have a response done, Councillor, and I can forward it to you if you give you a list maybe of some of the other. Certainly, if additional monies were to be made available through the CEP scheme or any other grant scheme for that matter from the department, and it probably will be the Department of Rural and Community Development, we certainly will make use of it.
Thank you to the director for a reply. Two things. In the first point, can we write to the department seeking additional funding for the scheme? And in the second, would the director consider reallocating from our own local resources, for example, from the festival scheme? Many of the festivals haven't gone ahead this year. Can we use some of that funding, or the festival and events manager post that we haven't recruited yet, and that funding is in place from last January? Could that be reallocated in terms of our own local resources to the scheme?
Okay, we certainly will write to the department. That's absolutely no problem at all. Now, in relation to the funding that might be available under the festivals and events heading, I will check that out to see if there's what funding might be available, and certainly that will be reallocated. It wouldn't be our intention anyway not to reallocate it to where we have an over subscription in other categories. However, the funding available for the festivals and events person or that officer, well, we haven't recruited that person yet. We may do so, we may consider doing that before the end of 2021. It's not something that I've had time to give consideration to up to now, but I wouldn't be, that is kind of for resources, and I certainly wouldn't be willing to consider, reallocating that. But anywhere else where it would be appropriate, grant funding, we certainly will see if we can reapply to where we have an oversubscribed number of applications.
Thanks, Dorothy.
Councillor Healy.
Dorothy, when you are writing to the Minister, could you highlight the fact to them that 90%, if not all these groups that we're talking about, the biggest problem that we're running into is insurance. Any group now for insurance on a playground can be anything up to 4,000. And I know even the local authorities themselves, there's only one group out there now that does insurance to cover the playgrounds. Now, we're lucky enough in Clooney, and I'd say you're the same in Grange and Ballantor, that they were lucky enough to be in on a scheme for insurance years back. But to get on a scheme now or to be in any of these groups, it's costing us a fortune. And unfortunately, with the COVID as well, we have no ways of raising money through our lottos or anything else. Which means a lot of our funding streams have been cut. So it's most important that we highlight with the Minister that local groups, the insurance is one of the major things that we have to pay every year. And without that, your playground closes or whatever event you're running won't happen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Chair, we certainly do that.
And thanks, Dorothy. And I'd like to second that motion, and just, I suppose, to acknowledge the work that the communities have done on shoestring budgets, particularly over the last year and a half, to keep the whole show on the road. But definitely with the support of the local authority. I know that ourselves out in Grange, that we did get grants from your department, Dorothy, and it's very much appreciated, because we just wouldn't be able to function. None of us would. So it is really, it's appreciated. And again, I always say the quick turnaround when the funding is announced, that the staff turn around these grant applications very, very quickly. But just to pay credit to the communities who have kept things going as much as they can and kept places looking so well and supporting groups over the last 12 months in particular. Thank you. Yeah, just sort of, can you mute your mic there, please? John, John, okay. My own motion number 9, is there a report, please?
Coherlock, the additional funding recently announced is committed already. An LIS application has not been submitted for these schemes. However, they will be included for consideration in the 2022 LIS programme if their applications are submitted.
Okay, thanks for that. But there's actually that recently announced funding is literally announced in the last week. I don't know if you have, is that
the LIS? Yeah, there was a secondary list. So there's a list. There was a waiting list basically for it's oversubscribed. So
okay,
yeah.
Okay, and that's the one that round of funding is specifically for private roads that lead to beaches and accesses to public amenities, or
that round of funding is under the LIS allocation.
Okay, all right. Okay, thank you. Yeah.
And just in relation to the LSI schemes, how would do you divide them out? Do you divide them out by the different municipal areas, or is it just first come, first served?
It's definitely first come, first served does come into it, but it is distributed as evenly as possible throughout the municipal districts as well.
And the LSI schemes that we have now, is that all for private roads, or is it for public roads as well?
They're for private roads.
All private roads. That's
what the scheme is, yeah.
Right. Thank you.
And thanks for that report. Councillor Healy, motion number 10.
Could I have a report, please?
Just to relay that there are negotiations ongoing relating to the purchase of land for the cemetery in North Sligo.
Well, that's appreciated, and as it says, it's something that we've been looking for here over the last number of years. I suppose since this municipal area set up over 2.5 years ago, it's something that we put on the agenda that we need to be looking at as a cemetery, and a good sized cemetery down there. As I says, I put a proposal there to hopefully that was looked at. I think that there's great potential in that if that is looked at. And as I says, if you look at that and talk to the local farmers and everyone else, I think we'd have an area down there that'll be second to none at very small money. And at the end of the day, you'll still make your money back off it by selling plots and different things else. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Walsh.
Just to support the motion, this has been going on for a long number of years, and I suppose it's important that we plan for the future if we're possible. I'm glad to hear that negotiations are ongoing.
Thank you, and just to support the motion as well, I know that Mr. Feather has been talking about this and looking for, I don't know how many years now at this stage, a lot of years, and it is a huge issue, and I know that all avenues have been looked at over the years, so hopefully that something will come from this now. Thank you. Councillor Healy?
Yes, could I have a report, please?
Coherlock, preliminary investigation and draft designs for a pedestrian crossing in Ballysadare were proposed in Q4 2019. These draft designs were the subject of an informal public consultation. The consultation process did not provide a consensus on the preferred location for a pedestrian crossing in Ballysadare. So just to note that any proposals of this nature must be made in accordance with the TII approval procedure for safety schemes on national roads. And it should also be noticed that a project of this nature must be approved by TII in order to receive funding.
Well, first of all, it's very disappointing to see that we're still where we are. As you said yourself, 2019, it's now 2021. I set up the meetings with the businesses so they could come along and talk to them and see about the pedestrian crossings going in and the areas going in. We then had a meeting with the roads department, and then we opened it up to the community, and proposals was put forward. There was a public consultation done. It's disappointing to think that if there was need for further public consultation, that you didn't come back to us to tell us that. Because a lot of people think that we've our work done and it's now left with yourselves, the council, and also TII to get funding available. Now, this has been raised a couple of times in this area in relation to Ballysadare and a safe crossing for the people who live in the village. So what do we need to do now? What do we need to do to push this on?
Well, following this motion, we'll relook at it in Ballysadare, and I think there was the public consultation and the proposal was just at the end of 2019. So I suppose with everything that went on since, it wasn't a priority. But we'll certainly relook at it now, and if there's anything we need, I'll come back to you, Councillor Healy. But if not, we'll just proceed. But we will need to proceed to look for funding from TII to develop it.
We appreciate your response, but as it says, whatever we need to do, we're here to help. But it's something that needs to happen sooner rather than later. We have a lot of people now that use that road, especially we have 2 old people in the area that drive across on little motor cars, and it's a death trap. Something's going to happen, and as it says, we have an opportunity now to address it. I think that there is a solution to the problem, and we put it down there on the proposals at that time. And we talked to Tom Brennan and we talked to John O'Flaherty at the time. John came out to that meeting. So there is areas there that can be addressed. It's not going to suit everyone. We know that. But it's the most important thing is we had the public consultation with the businesses first, and then we had the public consultation with the residents and that live in the villages themselves. So as it says, the most important thing from here on in is that we're kept up to date on what's happening, because people out there expect this to happen. It's 2 years in the making and still no further on. So I appreciate your report. Thank you.
Yeah, this has been raised a number of times, and as pointed out, 2019 is quite a while ago. I know the Community Council have lobbied for this for some time, and not only will it serve as a pedestrian crossing, which is badly needed in Ballysadare, but it'll also slow down traffic that's coming through Ballysadare. And with the standards, there's one in Ballygawley, the 75 mil high, and it is slowing down traffic to a point. I think it'd be a good addition to Ballysadare. It's huge amount of traffic goes through it on a daily basis, and it's very difficult to cross the street at any time now. So thank you.
Thank you. I'd also like to support that motion. Councillor Healy, motion number 12.
I'll second that.
This is an ongoing issue. I sent photographs to the local engineer and one of the senior engineers as well on a number of areas that the grass is growing on dangerous junctions down the North Sligo, and there's areas out on the Killarney Road, and there's a pile of areas everywhere where the grass is growing so much. I know it's hard to control all this, and I suppose with the good weather and then the heat in the ground pushed grass up higher. But as it says, especially down in North Sligo, there is a major concern around Jordans, especially around some of the schools. And I know they're on holidays now, but it's important that we get these areas addressed. And it's not just to think of the locals, but it's to think of the visitors coming that goes on these narrow roads and aren't sure of them, and they stick their nose too far out on some of these narrow roads that we're talking about. So if you have a report on it, please.
Coherlock, verge trimming was carried out recently on all junctions on the N15 and N16. A lot of verge trimming has been carried out at junctions on regional and local roads in the Ballysadare and Clooney engineering areas. Works are now planned for the Grange Drumcliff area. for the Grange Drumcliff engineering area in the coming weeks. And if there are any specific junctions of concern, it would be helpful to contact the area engineer.
Thanks very much.
Chair. Hello. Sorry, Chair, can you hear me?
Sorry, go ahead, Tom.
You can hear me? Oh, sorry, apologies, I have a bad connection here this morning.
You're okay?
Just to support this motion, I brought it up at the ordinary meeting last week as well. Basically, there's a lot with the growth, I suppose, there's a huge amount of grass growing out on the rural roads. Basically, I was out there in Ransborough as well. There was a lot of people complaining about busy junctions, and indeed out throughout North Sligo. There's a lot of tourists that don't realise, the junctions and come out in the middle of the road. So it's important that the busy junctions are cut back, and just to support the motion. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Walsh.
Yeah, I too want to support the motion. This is something that comes up every year. I know I raised there was issues along the R284, but thankfully to Desi and his team, that was completed last week. There are a number of junctions that I have sent in: the junction at Ballywheelan and Ross Point, the Coney junction below Corona, and also, if I could ask the director, the Ahamore junction just below the turn for the Holy Well is the sight line is very, very poor on it, coming from the Holy Well side, so maybe that could be looked at. Thank you.
Thank you, and also support the motion. I think it's an issue for every area. I've also received photographs of areas in North Sligo that need to be looked after, and I've sent them on. And the area engineer has said, I think just with the roads programme at the moment, that all the staff they're tied up with that. But I think what I was told was that as soon as those programmes are finished, then the staff will be able to move on and get the verges and the hedges cut where possible. Thank you.
Just one question. I know it's a problem, these junctions, but is there any way that we can address them? Because some of the banks are very high on them, that if we were able to take away the banks, flatten the ground down more, it might be easier for cutting, or is that a major job? It's just that we're going to have to be cutting them every year. Is there any way we can address it that you won't have to cut them if we did a couple of them every year and came up with a different way than is there at present?
Well, I guess there still have to be cutting. I suppose individual junctions can be looked at, but it mightn't be as, drainage, etc. It might not be as simple as just taking down the bank, but certainly we can look at individual junctions of concern.
It's just mostly on the rural roads we're talking about now, not on the national routes. It's mostly the rural roads that there is problems with. And I know down there beside the school in Maharog, there is a junction there coming out, and the banks are very high on each side to look at. Maybe we could look at that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Fox, would you like to come in now with your motions?
Yes, thanks, Chair. Is there a report on that motion, item number 4?
Item number 4, Coherlock. An estimate to resurface the car park is being prepared currently. Councillors' proposals funding was allocated to this some time ago. However, it isn't sufficient to complete the works, and it's likely that additional councillors' proposals will be required to supplement the funding already in place. So we will revert with the costings when it is made up and inform the councillors as to what additional funding is required.
Thank you, Eamon, for that, for the report. Yeah, look, it's a very busy junction outside the school, and a lot of traffic comes in from the main Bundoran Road there as well. So look, there's also those indicators as you come in need to be replaced, and the road markings are badly needing updating there as well. It's a very busy junction with the school, a lot of kids coming and going. So in the interest of public safety, I think this should be done sooner rather than later, and I'm looking for support for councillors' allocations, and I'm prepared to put whatever allocation is needed. I do understand the former councillor Hubert Keeney had funds made available there, proposal funds. So look, if we can get something done in the interest of public safety there, the local community would be very much appreciated.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Healy.
I want to agree with what Councillor Fox says. It is a very busy junction down there, and I suppose there's a lot of traffic coming and going there from it. So if you have to do up a costings on what's needed, maybe come back to us as councillors and we'll see what we can do. Thank you.
I'd also like to support that, and you want to be fast with the. I'd say the money is nearly gone now at this stage in August. I know that whatever is left will be asked to spend it. So I suppose, and in one way, it's good timing that that if we have any funding left over, that we can commit to it. But I would agree as well, and it's also used. It's a very busy spot on weekends because a lot of activities happen around the school as well. There's lots of traffic there, lots of parents, lots of buses, lots of coming and going. It's a very busy spot, and a community facility as well. Councillor Fox, item number 5.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, can I ask for a report on item number 5?
Yes, Coherlock, this road is not included in the 2021 roads programme. However, it will be included for consideration when drafting the 2022 to 2024 multi-annual restoration improvement programme.
Yeah, thank you, Emma, for that information. Look, it's a busy road. A lot of people use that road. I may request that we meet an engineer out there someday to see if there's a possibility of having some sort of a lay-by, maybe halfway down. It's badly needed there. It's a very narrow road, and again, right at the very bottom of the road, where the entrance is to both the old and the new cemeteries. There's a big problem there with water washing the road away. I think proper drainage needs to be put in place. People cannot get in, elderly people and, anybody with special needs, they can't enter the old graveyard at all. It's pretty bad there at the moment. So I'd appreciate if you could come out and take a look at it, and I'm prepared to meet with whoever comes out and just explain it to the people. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Walsh.
Thanks, Ciara. Look, I too want to support this motion. I was contacted about this road also and sent photos. It is in a very, very poor state at the moment. I sent the photos over to the senior engineer there a week and a half ago. And maybe as an interim that it could be patched as soon as possible, because there are families up and down that road into the graveyard, and it's in a very bad state. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Fox, motion number 6, and I'd like to second that one.
Coherlock, I have a response from Irish Water regarding this motion. It's as follows. The Rosses Point sewage scheme involves repairs to the wastewater collection network in the village of Rosses Point. Also, the construction of pumping stations and rising mains with connections to the Sligo town wastewater system. The existing Rosses Point wastewater treatment plant will be decommissioned on completion of the project. So the project is currently out to tender, and tenders are expected back in August. And following tender evaluation, it is expected that construction will commence in early 2022.
Thank you, Councillor Fox. Thank you, Emer. It's good, positive news to see that project is moving forward in a positive manner. So yeah, it's a major issue out there in Rosses Point, and so the houses will be able to connect into the proper sewer system that will lead back into the treatment plant there at in Sligo town. There's just one question: will it be possible for for residents that live between Rosses Point and Sligo town to connect into into this system? It's a question I've been asked many a time by residents out there.
I think any potential connection will need to be applied to Irish Water. But my understanding is that the collection system is in the Ballywheelan area, and it's a rising main from there into the treatment works at Finnisclin. So any connection may require a length of piping that may not be economical, but I don't have that. I don't have the answer. It's really a question for Irish Water, but I will certainly ask the question and revert, Councillor Fox.
Thank you, Eamon, for that information.
Thank you. And just on seconding the motion, it's been on the agenda, I suppose, for a long time as well. And I welcome the funding that has been allocated to Irish Water to progress this project, because it really is for the population that's there. And I know that it has been on the council's agenda for a long time as well, speaking with Mr. O'Driscoll over it, and having motions submitted myself. So it's very, very welcome that construction work will start in 2022. Most welcome. Thank you. Sorry, Councillor Healy.
I'd just like to welcome the work. As you says, it's gone out for tender and the work is hoped to start in 2022. Is there a final date of when it'll be finished as well? No.
I don't have a date, but I just to note that the rising main that will be on the N4 was, as part of this scheme, was constructed as part of the current roadwork scheme. So, you know, it's good synergies between projects.
And just in relation to what Councillor Fox was saying, I'd say that anyone that wants to get a connection on it, they're about to work as a group out there in relation to this, because they'll have to contact Irish Water direct.
Well, I'll make contact first through our own water services department, but just my instinct would be that it's a rising main most of the way, so it would need to. So potentially a group may be more efficient, but I would just hold back until I contact Water Services and Irish Water just to give people the correct information.
Sorry, just briefly there, if we could come back in. I noticed that it is a rising main, and I presume it's pumped, it's pressurised, and that. I believe you can tie into it through substations. For various, a number of houses can tie in maybe at one particular point. So maybe that could be looked at as well. So yeah, it's just a proposal.
Thank you. And just to clarify as well, that those substations would have to be paid for by the people who are applying for the connections.
Yeah, they wouldn't. They're not. Wouldn't be part of the scheme. Yeah, they'd have to be. So it just might not be viable for people to connect. It might not be as the route in from Ross's Point. It's not really designed for the route in from Ross's Point. It's more to take the existing system and bring it to the new system for proper treatment. So I suppose we don't really want the message to go out that people will be able to easily connect. It may not be feasible at all to connect on route in.
Because I know just of other projects around the country that it's very expensive for groups to actually connect, because you have to have it. Well, every project is different, but having to, you have to put a main in or put pipes in, obviously from the location to the actual rising main itself. And then depending on gradient and distance and everything, it's like there's a lot involved. It's not as easy saying. I suppose it's good to clarify that it's not just a question of connecting automatically to the main.
Exactly. Just to clear, it's not I suppose a wastewater main outside. It's a rising main which you cannot connect to. So yeah.
Okay, thank you for the clarification there.
Thank you. Now I think Councillor Fox, there are your three motions covered. And just back to Ross's point again, item 13 is a report, please.
Second that.
Yes, Chair. Yeah, the enforcement section will carry out a site inspection and to ascertain the condition of the properties in question. And we will also make contact with the owners of the development to inquire what their future plans are for the completion and occupation of these vacant apartments.
Thank you, Ms Clark. I'd like to welcome that report. It is an awful eyesore, particularly it's just such a beautiful village, and I've just got a lot of inquiries, particularly recently, about what are the plans for it and in relation to enforcement and finishing. So that's a welcome report, and maybe when you get any kind of progress back on that or word back, you might let us know.
Will do, yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Walsh?
Yeah, just to support the motion, I was contacted and have raised this property before with the section. Likewise in Ballysadere, this is on the way into Russell's Point, and it has a negative impact on the whole village with all the positive work that's undergoing Russell's Point. There's a community consultation now opened by LUH as part of the public realm consultation, the 100,000 that was allocated, that's now live, and we have a big block, apartment block, that's sitting like that for a long number of years with no work being carried out on. I think that the local authority needs to take a strong line both with the Ballysadere property and this property on the way into Russ Point. Thanks, Gerlach.
Councillor Healy?
Yeah, just one for the Director of Services. Can you ask them, can we get a date or a time frame of when there will be starting work and when the work will be finished? Because we've seen it down through the years with these developers that we have no real tie on them of what they're going to do and when they're going to do it. So I think we need to be more proactive with them and ask them, put the pressure more on them and find out exactly what's going to happen. So if we could have a time frame, that we request a time frame of when the work is going to start and what's going to happen. Thank you.
Yep. Yes, Chair, we will do that. Definitely when we talk to them, a date and a timescale for completion would be part of our discussions with them.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director. And motion number 14, is there a report, please?
Yes, Cathaoirleach. The Rosses Point Development Association have always maintained this area. The area engineer has spoken to them, and we understand that maintenance works will be carried out along this pathway in August.
Perfect, thank you. I'll pass that on. Just a few people have been contacting me about it as well. Again, because it's very busy and lots of people staying around and locals as well. And I'll pass it on, and I welcome that report. Thank you. Is there a seconder for that? Do you want to speak on that? Okay. Okay. Just item number 15, correspondence. Noted. And any other business? Just under any other business, I'd just like to congratulate Mona McSharry on getting through on her first attempt to the Olympic finals. Unbelievable. It's just amazing. She's captured the imagination of the whole country, and I'm getting messages from people that I know in different countries as well, even as far as Australia. They were rooting for Mona instead of their own swimmers because of the Irish connection with them. So just a huge congratulations. It's really, everybody is just 100% behind her, and so proud of her for everything that she's done so far. And she is, she's certainly putting Sligo and Ireland on the map. So we're all very proud of her.
Yeah, Gerlach, I'd like to echo what you have said. I think it's an outstanding achievement. The first Irish swimmer in 25 years that's qualified for an Olympic final. And just congratulate her family, and the Irish team. And I just have another item to raise, if that's possible. Gerlach, I just want to raise the issue of a planning application at Carrow Row in relation to the quarry. I've been asked by the community to raise a number of concerns, and I'm not going to go into huge detail, but there has been 96 observations made from the community on the application to last Friday. We had a public meeting down in Coolbeg at Stinson Park. There was a very large attendance. It was organised by the GA Club, and people have very, very serious concerns in relation to this application. It's a 10-year application to go 50 metres underground to open this quarry, and I too share those concerns. I know the application is at about 70% or 76% complete. So I do want to voice those concerns on behalf of the community. Thanks, Carrick.
Thank you. I'd also like to support that.
Just in relation to Mona McSherry, I also want to congratulate her. And this didn't happen over a year or two. This is a long number of years for her to get where she is today. And I was watching a good bit of the Olympics, and there was a young lad there. He went for the judo. He missed out on it. But to see the heartache of him, from all the time and effort he put in, and all he was thinking of the people he let down. He didn't let anyone down. He excelled, and that's what it's about. It's about, and you're right what you're saying, Chair. A lot of people will be looking into this, and they'll be looking at, well, if that girl can do it, maybe I can do it. But it just goes to show you that she did this without a full-size Olympic swimming pool as well. So but it's a credit to her and it's a credit to her family and everyone that's worked with her down through the years to get her where she is today. And I know, talking to her, that she's in a good spot now, and it's great to see it. A young person, and as I says, all the people that go out there to represent us. We never think of same as your soccer, your Gaelic. Everyone has to put in the work. Everyone has to put in the effort to get to where you are. Sometimes it works for you, sometimes it doesn't. And I think that we should be sending it out to all our Olympics people out there in the Olympics for us. We're proud of you. You've got to a stage where 90% of people never got to, and it's a big step. And they're done a great job. Thank you.
Sorry, Chair. Yeah. Also, sorry, Chair.
Yes, Tom. Thank you. Sorry.
I'd also like to congratulate Mona on her outstanding achievement, and I wish her all the very best in the finals. She's a great example to us all. It goes beyond sport. These type of achievements goes beyond sport. It encourages all walks of life to. It's a great achievement, and I wish her well in the finals. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Okay, that was over, and that wasn't too bad for the first one anyway. We just have to set a time and a date for the next meeting. Yeah, so it'll have to be October because there's no meeting in August. So so Monday the 4th is probably the ordinary meeting. Yeah. So what about the 11th? Would that be okay? October. Councillor Fox?
Yeah, that's fine with me. The 11th of October is fine. Yeah.
Is that okay? No, because it's we only have it every 2 months, and we don't have a meeting in August. Unless you want a special meeting, another one. Unless you want another one, a special meeting, an extra one. Okay.
So the 11th of October. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks to everybody. Thanks to staff. And enjoy the rest of your summer. Thank you.
Well done,
Bye-bye.
Chair.